Okay, so let's jump right in. We are looking at a story today that, it deals with a very specific, kind of uncomfortable type of leadership failure.
That kind of keeps you up at night.
Exactly. It's that thing where you see a leader who is, by all accounts, really competent, morally grounded.
Totally solid in their own world.
Right. And then they step into a new environment and just make a catastrophic decision. It's that smart person doing a bafflingly dumb thing paradox.
It's a classic problem. Competence in one area just doesn't automatically transfer to another, especially when social pressures change.
And we are definitely not talking about a small mistake today. The source we're pulling from is titled Compromise in the Court of Kings.
Right, and it's looking at the biblical accounts in 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles.
Specifically, chapters 18 through 19 of 2 Chronicles and 1 Kings 22. But the analysis treats it less like ancient history and more like a psychological profile of a leader. We're talking about King Jehoshaphat.
And our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack how Jehoshaphat, who is basically the good guy in this story,
The protagonist, yeah.
how he gets completely swallowed by a corrupt system. It's about peer pressure, sure, but it's more about kind of slow desensitization, a slow erosion of judgment.
That's the part that got me. Because usually when we talk about bad decisions in these old stories, we just assume the person was corrupt or, incompetent from the start.
But the text makes it really clear that Jehoshaphat wasn't either of those things.
Not at all.
If you miss that part, you miss the whole point of the story. The source describes him as a builder, a reformer,
Yeah.
someone who is deeply principled. He had a track record.
So here's the tension I really want to unravel. The source points to this detail in 2 Chronicles 17, where it says Jehoshaphat spent the first part of his reign building up his defenses specifically against the northern kingdom of Israel.
Which was ruled by the infamous King Ahab.
Right. Ahab, the villain of the piece. So Jehoshaphat is building walls, fortifying cities. He knows Ahab is a threat. He's treating him like the main
It
threat.
knows exactly who he's dealing with.
And yet, a few years later, they're sitting on thrones side by side, planning a war together like they're best friends.
It's a complete 180, a total reversal.
How does that happen? How do you go from building walls against to going to war with?
That is the central question, isn't it? And
Okay.
the source frames it as a kind of duality. It says Jehoshaphat had spiritual strength at home, but showed poor judgment abroad.
Spiritual strength at home, poor judgment abroad.
Wow.
That suggests his wisdom was, what, geographic, contextual?
I think it suggests that wisdom isn't some fixed thing you just carry around with you in a suitcase.
Yeah.
It can be environmental.
Huh.
You can be a genius in your own office, but a fool in someone else's boardroom because the pressures and the rules are completely different.
Okay, so let's break that down. Segment 1, this unlikely alliance. We have to figure out what happened between the Cold War phase and the best buds phase.
Right, because it didn't just happen overnight. There's a specific mechanism.
What was it?
It's the oldest political trick in the book, really. The source points us to 2 Chronicles 18, verse 1. It says, Jehoshaphat made a marriage alliance with Ahab.
Ah, okay. The in-law factor. His son marries Ahab's daughter.
Exactly.
Now, to play devil's advocate for a second, that's standard practice back then, right? You marry off your kids to make peace. Is that really a mistake or just politics?
That's a fair question. And on paper, from a purely, political point of view, it looks like smart diplomacy.
You stop the fighting, you secure the border. Seems logical.
It is logical. But the source argues this is where the moral drift starts. Because by tying his family to Ahab's, Jehoshaphat wasn't just signing a treaty, he was creating a permanent personal obligation.
Right. Ahab isn't just some other king anymore.
He's family.
You have to see him at holidays.
Exactly. And the source asks a really sharp question here. It says, to what extent does his in-law relationship make it difficult for Jehoshaphat to refuse Ahab? And that moves us out of politics and into, psychology.
That's the pivot. It's not negotiation anymore. It's nepotism.
It is. And it introduces what you might call relational blindness. When someone's an enemy, you scrutinize every little thing they do.
You're on high alert.
But when they're family, you start to overlook the red flags. You want the relationship to work, so you start making excuses. Oh, Ahab's not that bad.
Which is a problem when the source material paints Ahab as, the gold standard for bad, wicked leadership.
Precisely. And this leads to this scene where the trap really snaps shut. Years pass, and Jehoshaphat goes to visit Ahab. Ahab throws this huge party for him.
Lots of food, very welcoming.
And then, right in the middle of the party, he asks him, he wants Jehoshaphat to join him in a war to retake Ramoth-Gilead.
And Jehoshaphat's answer is just stunning. He says, I am as you are, my people as your people. He completely capitulates.
It's a total merger of identities. The walls he built are gone. In that one sentence, he's erased them.
But then, and this is where we get to our second segment, he kind of hits the brakes. Just a little.
He does.
He agrees, but then he adds a condition. He says, first, let's seek the counsel of the Lord.
It is such a complicated, contradictory moment.
It's confusing. If you've already said yes, why ask a prophet? Is this a genuine second thought, or is he just, trying to look good?
And that's where we have to look at the difference between being sincere and just, going through a procedure. The source asks the key question. Was this request sincere or merely procedural?
Let's define that, because I feel like we see this in leadership all the time.
A sincere request means you haven't made up your mind yet. You're actually open to hearing no. The data you get will shape your decision.
Okay, so the advice actually matters.
Right. A procedural inquiry, what we could call a spiritual checkbox, is when the decision is already made. You're committed.
But you want to feel like you did your due diligence.
Yes. You want the validation of having consulted an expert.
It's like hiring a consultant to tell you that the merger you already signed off on is a brilliant idea. You're not paying for advice, you're paying for an endorsement.
That is the perfect analogy. It's weaponized confirmation bias. Jehoshaphat is stuck. He's in Ahab's court. He's his in-law. He can't back out now without causing a huge incident.
But his conscience is bugging him.
It is. He's the good king. Good kings are supposed to ask God for advice, so he goes through the motions.
And Ahab is more than happy to play along. He calls in 400 prophets.
400? I mean, that's not a consultation.
That's a pep rally.
Exactly.
Just imagine the scene. 400 guys all chanting in unison, go up in triumph. The Lord gives it into the king's hand.
It's the illusion of consensus. And that is a massive trap for any leader. If everyone in the room agrees with you instantly, you're not getting advice. You're in an echo chamber.
It's the Abilene paradox. A whole group of people agrees to do something none of them actually want to do because they think everyone else wants to.
Yes, and Ahab has built this group to do exactly that. They are professional yes men.
And yet Jehoshaphat, to his credit, he seems to smell a rat.
He does. Even in this compromised position, his old instincts, that home strength, it kicks in just a little. He asks, is there not still a prophet of the Lord here that we may inquire of?
Which is basically him saying, okay, great show, but where's the real data? He knows these guys are fakes.
He knows they're on the payroll. This is theater. He wants reality.
Which sets us up for segment 3, the Micaiah incident. And this is where it gets really dramatic.
Oh, it does. Ahab's reaction when he's asked for just one more prophet is so telling.
He practically rolls his eyes. Well, there is one guy, Micaiah, but I hate him.
I hate him because he never prophesies anything good about me, only evil.
What a statement. That says everything about Ahab's leadership style.
It's the classic surrounded leader. If the data doesn't fit his narrative, he attacks the source of the data. He doesn't say Micaiah is wrong, he says Micaiah is negative.
He hates him because Micaiah breaks his reality distortion field.
Absolutely. So they drag Micaiah in, and the pressure on this one man must have been immense.
Off the charts. You've got 2 kings on their thrones, 400 prophets yelling yes, and you're the one guy they expect to say no.
And the messenger who goes to get him even tries to coach him. He's like, hey, listen, everybody's on the same page here. Just go with the flow. Don't make it weird.
But he doesn't. Well, at first he kind of does, with sarcasm.
He does. He mocks them. He just repeats their own words back to them. Go up in triumph. And Ahab immediately knows he's not being serious.
And then Micaiah drops the hammer.
He does. He describes a vision of Israel scattered on the hills like sheep without a shepherd.
It's a death sentence. He's saying, if you go, the leader dies and the army falls apart.
You couldn't ask for a clearer warning.
So here's the most frustrating part for me. Jehoshaphat asked for a real prophet. He got one. The prophet gave him a direct warning, do not go, and he goes anyway.
The source notes say he disregarded Micaiah's prophecy.
But why? Why ask for the truth if you're just going to ignore it when you get it?
Well, this gets us back to social entrapment and the sunk cost fallacy. Think about where he is. He's a guest in Ahab's court. He's eaten Ahab's food. His son is married to Ahab's daughter.
So the social cost of backing out feels higher than the physical risk of the battle?
It's way higher. For Jehoshaphat to listen to Micaiah, he would have to stand up in front of everyone, look his new family member in the eye, and say, I trust this one guy who you hate more than I trust you and all 400 of your advisors. I'm going home.
That's a diplomatic nuke. It's incredibly confrontational.
It is. And Jehoshaphat just didn't have the stomach for that level of awkwardness. He was more afraid of offending Ahab than he was of the actual warning.
That is a heavy, heavy thought, that politeness can be a fatal flaw.
Absolutely. We think of compromise as some shady backroom deal, but so often it just looks like being polite when you should be principled. It looks like not wanting to ruin the vibe at the party.
So he goes to war, it's a disaster, and there's this one detail in the battle that just reveals everything about the partnership. Ahab tries to trick him.
Yes, Ahab says, I'll go into battle in disguise, but you wear your royal robes.
I mean, what kind of partner does that? Hey, you are the bullseye, I'll go hide in the crowd. It's just breathtaking.
It proves the point. A corrupt partner will always, always sacrifice the honorable one to save their own skin. Ahab used Jehoshaphat as a decoy.
And Jehoshaphat nearly dies for it. He's surrounded, he cries out, and he saves by what the text calls divine intervention. But the lesson is learned the hard way.
It is. The alliance gave him nothing but danger.
So this brings us to segment 4, the slow drift. Because the source wants us to look at this whole thing as a process. The question is, how can godly leaders be slowly desensitized to evil through partnerships?
It's the gradual nature of it all. It's key. If Ahab had shown up on day one, back when Jehoshaphat was building walls, and said, hey, want to go die in a war for me?
Jehoshaphat would have laughed him out of the room.
Or built another wall. But it wasn't one big ask. It was a sequence. Step 1, the marriage alliance. That's just politics, right?
Step 2, the social visit. Just being hospitable.
Step 3, the request for troops. Step 4, the procedural prophecy.
And each step makes the next one harder to refuse. It's like a ratchet. You click forward, and you can't go back without breaking the whole thing.
And that's where that home versus abroad idea is so critical. When you step out of your own environment where your values are the norm,
and into an environment where your values are ignored or even mocked,
you lose your bearings. It's like your moral gravity disappears. In his own court, Jehoshaphat is the authority. In Ahab's court, he's just a guest trending not to be rude.
He adapts to their ecosystem instead of changing it.
Exactly. And the source warns that this happens to godly leaders. That's the terrifying part. It doesn't matter how principled you were in the past. If you tie yourself to a compromised partner, the desensitization is almost inevitable.
You can't separate the partner from the practice. That seems to be the main thesis.
You can't. We all tell ourselves we can. Well, I'm just doing business with them. I'm not adopting their ethics.
Or I'm friends with them, but I don't approve of their choices.
But this story says that's a dangerous fantasy. Eventually, you will be sitting on a throne next to them, nodding along to the lies, just because you don't want to make things weird.
It really challenges that modern idea that you can go into a bad environment and be a positive influence. Here, the light didn't change the darkness almost put the light out.
Right, because the corrupt system is usually just better at playing the game. Ahab played Jehoshaphat like a fiddle from start to finish.
So if we zoom out, what's the takeaway for those of us who aren't Bronze Age kings? We have boardrooms and business partners, not chariots.
I think the takeaway is about the fragility of our own wisdom. We think of our character as being like a rock-solid, unchanging.
And then we own.
But this story suggests character is more like a plant. It needs the right soil to thrive. If you put it in toxic soil, in a bad alliance, it withers.
So we have to be auditing our alliances much more aggressively.
Aggressively is the right word. We have to look at the people we are tied to, professionally, financially, even emotionally, and ask a very hard question.
Which is
this relationship making it harder for me to hear the truth?
wow, that's the diagnostic question. Is this making it harder for me to hear the truth? For Jehoshaphat, the answer was a clear yes. The relationship made him deaf.
And notice the text doesn't say Jehoshaphat became wicked like Ahab. He didn't start acting like him. He just became ineffective. He became a tool for someone else's agenda. And sometimes that's just as tragic.
That's a huge distinction. You don't have to become the villain. You just have to enable them.
Precisely.
We've covered a lot of ground here. It's a sobering look at how easily good intentions can get compromised.
It really makes you look at your own calendar, your own contacts, a little differently.
Definitely. So here's a final thought for you to take with you from this deep dive. We started with the idea that Jehoshaphat had spiritual strength at home. He was wise and safe there. His failure only happened when he left that environment and stepped into Ahab's court.
So the question to ask yourself is, where is your Ahab's court?
Right. Do you have a place, a job, a friendship, a partnership, where you feel your home strength just sort of evaporate? where you find yourself nodding along to things you would normally reject.
And if you can identify that place,
Yeah.
are you still strong enough to walk away, or are you already too worried about making things awkward?
Check your defenses. And maybe think twice about that next marriage alliance, whatever form that takes in your life. Thanks for diving in with us.
We'll see you next time.